Well, today's date is January 16th, 2023, and I think it's time we take a trip down memory lane. So it all started January 16th, 2013. That's when I got my first set of speed stacks. Uh, it became an addiction definitely that first year. Stacked almost every day. And I think with that first year, with it being an addiction, which may sound weird, but it was, I don't think I would have been where I am right now without that first year. Um, Definitely drew a lot of commitment to this that first year. 2014. So that's when I gained a lot of confidence in myself after beating my times, I'd say about once every month. I gained a lot of confidence after this year. And this is when I discovered competitions were a thing. And so I took this whole year to practice consistency and get ready for competitions when they do roll around, which all started 2015. I went to my first competition, January 31st of that year. Came out with really good results, which obviously got very motivated to continue to stack and go to bigger competitions, which people would tell me, like for example, the director at my first competition told me, you need to go to this comp because you are that good. You need to go to that comp. So, in which I did. I went to Southern Regionals that year. That's where I met a lot of the stackers I still know today. But after the first two comps, really nothing special. Went to U.S. Nationals, Junior Olympics, and St. Louis. All three of those, I at least failed one event. And so it wasn't a really good first year, which, ending with a bad result that year, it was not very fun. Then came 2016. This was a comp this is a year where I wanted to redeem myself, in which I had a good start. Southern Regionals came out second. Then U.S. Nationals rolled around, and that's where I broke a few state records and got on Team USA afterwards. So that obviously, after getting on Team USA, I was not only shocked, but I was extremely happy because it was one of my biggest goals in stacking was to represent the United States and be on the national team, and I got that job done. And that's where some of my confidence came back, and that's when I started to pick up the pace a little bit and started to do better at competitions. Like for example, Junior Olympics, finished top 5, which was a complete shock to me, but I did it, and that was my first 9 overall competition. So 2016 was also a really good year because Cowtown Stackdown, that first year, that comp was where I made a name for myself, and I started to be more well known in the stacking community. People wanted to know who I was after that competition. Then came 2017. I came into this year with a lot of confidence in myself, especially after that Cowtown performance, winning my first ever sanctioned competition. But it turned out to not be the best year. I think it was actually my worst year. Every competition besides Southern Regionals, I failed at least one event. And I think after the end of 2017, I really doubted myself just because I kept on failing at least one event, and I let the nerves get the best of me. But I didn't call it quits. And the good thing I didn't, because 2018 came around. And definitely my best overall stacking year in terms of competition performance. Every single competition I went to, at least a 9 overall. And overall, just a really, really good year. Coming out with one sanctioned win, with that one actually being, I would consider a comeback in a sense. Top 5 finish at Junior Olympics. But once again, all competitions, 9 overall. And I think 2 of those competitions being top 3 finishes. So definitely did have a year of redemption there. Got a lot of my confidence back. Then came 2019. This is where I achieved my first 4-second cycle 1 year after my 6-year anniversary. So that was one of the biggest moments of my life, being one of the first 25 stackers to achieve a 4-second cycle. That was beyond my expectations. I thought it was going to take me longer than that, especially with the pace that we were going at, with more 4-second cycles being more common at this point. So being one of the first 25 to do so was amazing. And this was also, I would say, a decent tournament year. Every competition I went to, I did really good, except Junior Olympics, where I did not make 3x3 finals. But St. Louis, though, was the highlight of 2019, where I had a very good performance with my first 8 overall competition, with including a 189 and a 537. Definitely one of my best performing competitions. And to end it on that was a perfect way to end it. Then came 2020. 2020 started off really good for me, with a top 3 marquee finish, which was one of the biggest things on my bucket list for the longest time. And I achieved that at North American Open in 2020. And after this comp, even though I managed to get top 3 with a 10 overall, I still had probably the most confidence I have ever had after this marquee finish. But unfortunately, this was COVID's year to take over. Competitions were temporarily suspended. Only went to that competition that year. A lot of online competitions, though, were offered to us, and I took full advantage of that. Online competitions have been really good for me. I performed really well in online competitions, and especially that first online competition I attended, I came out on top, beating stackers like Jaden Coggins, and I got a 8.7 overall, and set the first few online national records, which were held for a little bit, but then obviously those got overtaken. But in terms of online competitions, 2020 was a good year. Unfortunately, that was COVID, and we couldn't really go to competitions for the remainder of the year. Then came 2021. 2021 was a good year for me. Still, at the start of 2021, we had no online competitions, no in-person comps, going on. But I attended the World Championships online, which I would consider my best tournament ever. Came out second overall at Online Worlds, and I became cycle world champion. To have a world championship on my resume for cycle. Could have been any event, but it was cycle. I was blown away, and I was extremely happy after this comp, because not only did I place top 3 at Worlds, but I'm now considered a world champion stacker after winning cycle. So I will always remember this competition. But the good thing was in-person competitions came back, and it started a little rough as I failed 333 and 363 at my first in-person competition back. But I managed to beat my cycle best in comp with a 532, and that still stands today. But Junior Olympics came around. It was decent. Overall, it was a decent year. G5 though kind of killed that momentum of 2021 being a really, really good year. Went to my first G5 competition. Set a few world records that were not held for very long, but and then St. Louis came around. Did decent. So 2021 was a decent year, but at the same time, it was kind of odd. 2022. This is where in-person competitions started to pick back up, and started to become a normal routine. This was a really, really good year for me. Not only did I place top 3 in a marquee tournament once, but I did it twice. So I placed top 3 at Worlds, at least in the US location, but overall I placed 9th. Still, top 3. What can I say? I was proud of myself. It was a really good comp for me, considering G5 times were a little slower. I was still happy. And then I finally placed top 3 at the Junior Olympic Games. This was another thing on my bucket list that I wanted to make sure that would happen, is just to at least podium at juniors, and I did. So I'm very happy about my performance also at juniors. And then I also went to 2 more competitions after those 2. Went to St. Louis and Georgia Open. St. Louis last year was a good comp. This was probably my best performing competition that I didn't win. I performed very well at that competition, where I got times including a 163 and a 551, and I still didn't manage to win because Dalton was 0.08 of a second faster. But overall, 2022 was a really good year. And finally, we have reached 2023. And remember, today's date is January 16th, 2023. And I started stacking on January 16th, 2013. So, I'm hoping for a good 2023. But the purpose of this video was to celebrate 10 years of stacking. A big milestone for me. Stacking for that long, I didn't think I was going to be able to, but I pulled it off. So I just want to thank everyone in the stacking community for 10 great years of stacking, building friendships, competing at competitions, making friends there. All the bondings that I have made over the years has been a life changer for me. I think without stacking, I don't think I would be the social person that I am right now. So this is why I dedicate 10 years of stacking to the entire stacking community. Thank you guys for 10 years.